Previously on the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast.
So, Chris, I think that brings us to our pick for March, which is your pick.
Yes! I am going to go for the book that helps celebrate the 35th anniversary of Doctor Who.
Okay.
So, Matt, we are going to go to Beige Planet Mars, as written by Lance Parkin and Mark Clapham, which is one of the Bernice Summerfield new adventures.
Huh. Cool. And that has a fantastic cover.
It does. It has a brilliant cover.
And now our story continues.
Welcome, everyone, to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. This is Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London. How's it going, Matt?
It's going pretty well, Chris. I am freshly back from Gallifrey 1, so that has been a wonderful time and fun convention, and I didn't get COVID, so hooray.
Hooray! All right, were there tomatoes?
There were, actually. Yeah, quite a few. Do you remember those?
I remember tomatoes. They were nice.
How are things going in the UK right now?
Oh, absolutely marvellous. We seem to have a shortage of tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, and eggs.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, great.
One of the benefits of living on an island, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, yes.
Oh, fresh fruit and veg. Those were the days.
Oh, yes, but they just... It's like during COVID, we had a socially distanced visit to local vineyard. Yeah, those things exist in our bits of South London. And whilst they were doing the socially distanced tour, they said, well, in the days when we used to have weddings, we would take people over here. In ye olden days when weddings were allowed.
Weddings and salad bars.
Yes.
I have just one small bit of Doctor Who book news to share, and that is that Simon Guerrier, who I had the pleasure of meeting at Gallifrey 1, is going to be releasing a non-fiction book called David Whittaker in an Exciting Adventure with Television. And that will be out sometime in the second half of 2023 from 10 Acre Films, who also have a publishing house. And I got to hear Simon talk about some of his research on that, both in person and then I think on Radio Free Skaro. He did a bit of an interview.
Yes, I've seen that one of their episodes is, I think, called From Whittaker to Whittaker. I haven't listened to it yet. But, yes.
So for show and tell, I figured why not talk about Gallifrey?
Indeed.
And give you a bit of a convention report. So this is my 6th Gallifrey 1 and my first out-of-state trip in 3.5 years. So it was most welcome and very enjoyable. And this year we had badge ribbons to hand out. So we handed out a bunch of those, and I still have quite a few left over. So for future conventions, if you ever see me, I can hand those out. And then one of the highlights of the convention for me was getting a high five from Wendy Padbury. For wearing my Doctor Who hockey jersey, which has a number 2 and Troughton on the back. So that was rather lovely. On the Friday morning of the convention, Bonnie Langford was behind me in line at Starbucks early on Friday morning as she got a breakfast sandwich and a coffee.
Marvelous.
I did not bug her.
No, fair enough.
Although not all of the attendees followed that rule, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Some of the other highlights were that there were live commentaries that weekend for The Power of the Doctor, The Halloween Apocalypse, and Ascension of the Cybermen. So those were all fun. There was a rumor that there were Disney and BBC executives on site to observe fandom. So that
right.
felt a little strange. Like we were in the petri dish, so to speak.
Yes. Right.
But that rumor was later confirmed.
Okay.
I met up with lots of listeners, so got to meet Kenny from the Pieces of Eighth podcast in person. It was great to see Shag again from the Fire and Water podcast network. I saw Leland Jared from Florida, Jonathan from Chicago. Had a great conversation with Chris from Radio Free Scaro, as well as Jason Miller from the Trap One podcast, and Stephen Lacey from the Fantastic Cast.
Fantastic.
Which covers Marvel's Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I had fantastic geared up in my brain to say it, and it wasn't a pun.
Oh.
Sorry. I am quick-witted. I'm not that quick-witted.
There was a panel about the Eighth Doctor adventures called Alien Bodies and Ancestor Cells, featuring a friend of the show, Stacey Smith, and the EDAs are the subject for Bookworm Volume 2.
Do we have an ETA for that?
We do not yet.
Right.
She's still in the middle of reading The Range.
Yes.
She did answer a question, though, that Fear itself, the missing EDA, so to speak, is going to be included in that particular book, kind of where it slots in after Earthworld.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
A couple of other highlights. I had forgotten that Chris Chibnall worked on a Star Wars series with George Lucas that was shelved. So him and 7 other writers got picked out of like 200. And then for a period of 2 to 3 years, they would get flown out to Skywalker Ranch for 2-week retreats every 3 months. Right. And they had written like 50 or 60 scripts and had 5 or 6 seasons planned out. And then Disney bought Star Wars and the whole thing was shelved.
Oh, okay.
So that was kind of a strange reminder that
he
was in that. And Chris Chibnall was lovely over the entire weekend, just a lot of fun, and seemed to be relishing in all the positivity and joy. And there weren't any... he really kind of threw his hat in and was on not just the main stage panels, but he was showing up at just little small panels, off in some of the side rooms throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
Attended the Blu-ray panel with Gary Russell on it, and I strongly advocated for more cookbook segments from Chris Chapman. There are lots of recipes that haven't been made yet. I also suggested that they finally put out the Peter Davison and Sylvester McCoy years tapes, and Rob Ritchie chimed in that he's already made the introductions a la Quantel, so why not? I just need to convince the producer to do that.
Yeah.
Also, Janet Fielding mentioned watching Warriors of the Deep, which hasn't been announced or released yet, so I guess we can consider season 20 to be on the way.
Is it not season 21, Warriors of the Deep?
Yeah, sorry, season 21. Yeah, and then a couple of things related to getting to see Jodie Whittaker. Jodie did a read-through of Power of the Doctor, where Chris Chibnall played a Dalek, and Jodie, for the most part, played the Master, except during the last scene where she read her regeneration scene as originally scripted. So that was pretty cool. We learned in the Flux commentary that Observation Outpost Rose in Flux isn't a reference to Rose Tyler, but instead to a friend that Chris Chibnall lost during COVID named James Rose.
Oh.
So it was a tribute to him.
Okay.
The quarry used in the beginning of the Halloween apocalypse is the same one that was used in Power of the Doctor.
Okay.
After the Halloween apocalypse had aired, Stephen Moffat sent Chris Chibnall a text to say, "Oh, so it's like you took the pre-titles opening sequences of a season worth of episodes and put it all into a single episode." And Chris said he never replied and left him on read after that comment. And Jodie talked about reprising her role of the Doctor for the Redacted podcast after she had wrapped and left the series. And she was a little worried about if she could find the role, but all of that melted away. And she said the Doctor will always be a part of her, which I think bodes well for a Big Finish.
Yes.
So all in all, a wonderful, lovely time, and it was over much too quickly.
Oh, that's really cool.
So how about you, Chris?
So, well, I too went to a convention, not a Doctor Who one, but it sort of meant that I was in Derby, where I discovered the Derby Computer Museum, which has a lot of lovingly restored computers from the 80s, 90s, noughties, 1s, and actually I don't know how many there are from the 1s, but anyway, a fair old computers of my youth. And I saw, so in the PC room, I just wandered over to a person and just said, I don't suppose you got Dalek Attack. And they did. So they managed to get it and put it onto the PC I was on. And so I then spent a lovely time just playing Dalek Attack. I had to learn what the controls were because it was not obvious. But yeah, it was good. It was good fun.
Did the version you play, because I know there's two different versions. There's one, I think, with playable versions of the 7th and 4th Doctors.
And second.
Yeah, and there's a different version where the 2nd Doctor's playable.
Yes, yeah. This was the one with the second. And when I originally had it as a teenager, yeah, it also had the second.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, there are only 2 companions, so Ace and Unit Soldier, suspiciously looking like the Brigadier. But yeah, it was good fun. Apparently, they also have Doctor Who: The First Adventure.
Ah.
I didn't ask to play that. I only found out about that after I'd left. But,
I think you played the better game.
Yeah, I think I did.
I wonder if they had Destiny of the Doctors too.
Well, apparently they are trying to source Doctor Who games so that they could have a Doctor Who themed thing to tie in with the anniversary.
Ah.
And apparently they'd only managed to get Dalek Attack the previous week.
Oh.
So, yeah, my visit was quite timely.
Yeah.
So the Derby Computer Museum is, I think it was £7 or £7.50 for an adult. It is only open on Saturdays between 10 and 4. Though apparently it is open for educational visits during the week via appointment. Yeah, so you too can have the experience of your childhood being museum artifacts.
That would make for a good Blu-ray documentary, I think. Like just kind of a brief history of Doctor Who video games.
Yes,
and
yeah.
their quality.
Yeah. I do think that the person that I was speaking to who was kind of thinking that they could lure lots of Doctor Who fans to the Derby Computer Museum to play Doctor Who games hadn't quite realised how bad the reputation is of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Especially the Wii game.
Yeah, there's the Minds of Terror, which is quite awful. Which is that was the Colin Baker era one that you had to have a special expansion ROM for you to, or something like that, to plug into your BBC Micro for you to play it. In which the Doctor is accompanied by a robotic cat called Sphinx. Because I guess they couldn't get the rights for K9
or Frobisher.
Yes, or Frobisher. Yeah, so...
or the cat could be Frobisher, you never know.
Well, the cat could be Frobisher, yeah, it could be. So Derby Computer Museum is well worth your time, so if you are passing through the East Midlands. And also as well, I will be back that way in mid-May for the Hooverville Novel Experience convention.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. It is a convention featuring the likes of Paul Cornell, Gary Russell, Mark Morris, and various other folks talking about the books. So it's a day-long thing. It is, I'm going to have to go from memory here, it is I think the one weekend in which we don't have a national holiday in the UK, in May, due to the coronation. So it will be, I think it's the Saturday the 13th of May. Sounds about right. So, yeah, you can Google Hooverville, spelled with a W, and Novel Experience, or probably just do Hooverville Books. So it'll be at the Derby Quad, which I visited briefly to use the facilities, but it looks like a mighty fine venue, I'm sure. Yeah, that same building apparently is much loved by Jason Mewes.
From Clerks.
Yeah. Yes, from Clerks fame. Yeah, he apparently loves Derby. Some of his directorial debut was filmed in Derby around the quad, which is unexpected.
Well, that sounds like a great opportunity for listeners who are in the UK to meet both the authors and yourself.
Yes, yeah. At this moment in time, I am just there in my capacity as a punter, but I will be there. I have my accommodation. Yeah, it should be nice. And Derby, if you haven't been to it, I hadn't been to Derby before February. It's a lovely city. Nice and compact and friendly. Lots of interesting weird history. It is where Bela Lugosi decided to retire the part of Dracula. And at one end of the street that that's on is a theatre where Dracula made its adaptation debut. That's a very clumsy way of putting it, but it was like the first ever non-book telling of Dracula happened in a theatre there. And it's down, and this is either end of the same small street. The theatre that Dracula made his debut in is now a over-18s crazy golf course called House of Holes.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Yes.
So that Speaking of, that brings us to our book this month, which is Bernice Summerfield related.
Yes.
This month we are reading Beige Planet Mars
Yes.
by Lance Parkin and Mark Clapham.
Mm.
And we've read a few books by Lance Parkin. I don't know that have we read anything by Mark Clapham before?
I don't think so. I am just going to have a quick look at his. Not obviously. No. So he wrote Beige Planet Mars. He also wrote Twilight of the Gods, John de Miller, which is the last Bernice Summerfield Virgin Adventures book. And with Simon Butcher-Jones, he wrote The Taking of Planet 5 for the Eighth Doctor range, and also Hope, which again I think is an Eighth Doctor book.
Are all of the books he's written been co?
No. Hope seemed to be a solo book.
Okay, interesting.
And he's also written some Iris Wildtime stuff.
Cool. And the cover of this novel is rather striking, almost like a Venetian canal or waterway on Mars with a droid on a gondola, which is a scene from the book itself. And it was animated at some point as like a perpetual GIF or GIF. I'm not sure who did that. The cover is by Mark Solwowski, and the book has 16 named chapters, plus a prologue and epilogue. And there are clever chapter titles like World of the Wars, or Interlude, spelt lude like Lewd, or Drunk in Charge of an Imbecile, Fish and Ships, yes. Apocalypse Wow, Implausible Deniability, and it was originally published in October of 1998.
Just in time for the 35th anniversary.
Yeah, right before.
Yes, and also as well, Benny celebrates her 35th birthday.
In the novel, yes, she does.
Novel, yeah. So.
I believe we have the prologue as going to be the...
We do have a prologue as a reading. So shall we have a listen to the prologue? So this is read by Lauren, my other half. She has asked me, instructed me, to plug Trembling with Fear, which is a blog that she writes for Horror Tree. So if you Google Trembling with Fear, you will find all manner of interesting short stories and novellas that she compiles. And also as well, if you look on the Horror Tree website, you might see the occasional review by me. And despite the name Matt, you can relax a little bit in that not everything that covered by Horror Tree is in fact horror.
Oh, good.
Whew. Yes.
All right, well, let's have a listen.
World of the Wars. Everyone knew by the last years of the 20th century that human affairs were being watched keenly and closely by intelligences greater than man's and yet as mortal as his own. As men busied themselves about their affairs, they had come to know that there was life on Mars. With infinite complacency, most men went to and fro over their planet, going about their affairs without giving a thought to the older worlds of space. If they thought of Mars at all, they did so only in daydreams and stories. Idle fancies allowing an escape from the real world that brightened the time between renewing their car insurance via direct debit, arranging to open a current account with a building society, or fretting about the rising price of unleaded petrol. At most, terrestrial men fancied that one day there might be men living on Mars. The means to get to Mars existed. The technology had been there for some time, tried and tested, but the will was not. It would cost hundreds of billions of dollars to go to Mars. Better to use the money to sort out the problems here on Earth, the people said. And so those hundreds of billions, and many more besides, were spent on stealth bombers and old age pensions and paying back the national debt and tax breaks for the middle classes. So for more than 100 years, mankind spent their time living normal lives, with proper jobs, and they invested their billions the way they wanted to, on lottery tickets and alcohol, cigarettes and DIY. In 2086, the Martians destroyed Paris. The method used was very simple. They dropped an asteroid. The Martians didn't worry too much about the target, aiming it at Europe and letting chance and gravity decide exactly which city would be obliterated. It could have been Prague, Milan, Geneva, London, Manchester or Rome, but the asteroid struck Paris, and wiped clean centuries of history in an instant. 1 million people died at least, and mankind mourned them almost as much as it mourned the loss of the Mona Lisa, the Venus de Milo, Notre Dame, and Euro Disney. Humanity quickly worked out how the Martians had done it and didn't stop to ask why. That would be a question for the historians and the archaeologists in the centuries to come. Before that, the Martians had to be destroyed. This was something that humanity understood, and now, abruptly, the will to reach another planet was there. There were men on Mars in 8 weeks. United Nations soldiers parachuting down through the thin Martian atmosphere, setting up bridgeheads and command posts. Space stations arrived above Mars, watching over the battlefields with godlike disdain, selecting targets, coordinating the fight, relaying the television pictures back to Earth. Many men died fighting the Martians, but the Greenies were driven to the brink of extinction in exactly 1,000 days. When the war was over, mankind found that it owned another planet. Swords became plowshares, and colonization efforts began in earnest. NASA rockets brought supplies, robots and satellites prospected for minerals, astronauts laid foundations. The canals and riverbeds of Mars flowed with water once more, first a trickle, then a torrent as the human race melted the Martian ice. Mars was a place of innovation, pragmatism, and uncompromised excellence. Mars had deuterium, palladium, gallium, and silver in abundance, but its greatest asset proved to be its citizens, a young population more motivated and trained to a higher level than any previous human society. In the year 2095, the University of Mars was founded to celebrate all that the planet was and all that it would become. Tiny settlements quickly became great cities as the very best and brightest that humanity had ever produced flocked to Mars. It was a time for heroes, for great leaders, for men of vision, for scientists, for explorers.
Thanks so much, Lauren, for reading that. We'll be sure to include a link to Lauren's blog in the show notes as well.
Sure. So that's a wonderful, I think, kind of like scene setting, isn't it? It's kind of not, it's an info dump, but it's an evocative info dump.
Yeah, I totally agree. The prologue, it deliberately echoes, I think, the opening of War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. You have some similar turns of phrase, like human affairs were being watched keenly and closely by intelligences greater than man, yet as mortal as his own.
Yeah.
And I think this predates the Big Finish Invaders from Mars story.
It predates Big Finish.
Oh, yeah, true.
Because if you look at the back of the book, there is an ad for the upcoming Bernice Summerfield audios.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I say predates. They started coming out in September of that year, and this book is published in October. But yeah.
Yeah, right around the same.
Yeah, so right around the same time.
And the prologue takes place in 2095, and then the rest of the book is set in 2595, so 500 years later.
Yes.
And tonally, the prologue reminded me quite a bit of some of the narrated sequences in the Robert Heinlein juveniles, particularly Starship Troopers, and kind of how it, sets the scene.
Yeah.
Great. So shall we get started?
Let's begin. Yeah. So we've heard how 500 years ago there was a war on Mars, and then 50 years ago, so 2545 or so, there was another war on Mars with alien invaders, which are Daleks. But I mean, this is a book that can't even use the word Ice Warrior, let alone the word Dalek.
And yet, there's still quite a bit of discussion of both Ice Warriors and Daleks in this.
Oh yeah, yes,
which is a great way to kind of get around that restriction, I think.
Yeah, and like sometimes you have people are about to say the word Dalek, and then they get cut off. So there's some fun that's had with it.
In the prologue, I think it's mentioned that in 2086, Paris was destroyed by the Martians, aka Ice Warriors, who redirected an asteroid there. Yeah. And I had totally forgotten that had happened in transit, as kind of depicted in that novel.
Yeah.
And that act of aggression marked the beginning of the 1,000-day war between humans and the Ice Warriors, which was referenced in several additional books, including Legacy, God Engine, and The Dying Days.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of references to other bits of continuity.
Mm-hmm.
But so 50 years before the book, the Daleks have tried to invade Mars, and humanity had expected the Daleks coming. And so at a critical moment, Mars' Minister of Defense, a person called Telesar, did not launch the nuclear missiles. So the Daleks managed to take out all of the launch platforms apart from Telesar's missile control base. And the Daleks land on Mars using the human population as a living shield to prevent Earth from launching an attack. So eventually humanity and friends managed to kick the Daleks out of Mars and drove them back to their home system. But Telesar was never seen again, and it's presumed that Telesar was exterminated by the angry Allies after the invasion had failed. Because basically Telesar had betrayed the people of Mars.
Yeah, by not launching the missiles from they're in an underwater base.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
This Dalek invasion is actually the second time the Daleks had invaded or attempted to invade Mars, and the first time was part of, apparently, in the decade that the Dalek invasion of Earth happened, like in the 2160s. They had occupied Mars in that instance for the better part of a decade. There's a lot of world building in these early chapters, too, kind of tying it into Doctor Who as much as they could without actually having the license.
Yes.
So then we jump forward 500 years, and to celebrate the 500th anniversary of the terraforming of Mars, Philip and Christina York, who are the humanitarian owners of York Corp, or York Corp, it's Corp, York Corp, have sponsored an academic conference, and as an expert on native Martian culture, Benny has been invited to attend. And she arrives without a prepared lecture, so part of the book is her frantically trying to come up with her speech that she's going to give, during her presentation. And she meets some of her fellow lecturers, the elderly Elizabeth Trinity and Professor Scoblo, who is a Pakar, which is kind of that hamster-like species that I think Gary Russell may have created with his Pakar Carrie, whom we've encountered in a previous novel. And Professor Scoblo, the Pakar, instantly takes a dislike to Benny, and perhaps this is because there's a student named Gerald Macno who's such a great fan of Benny's, and she is perhaps jealous, or maybe it has something to do with Scoblo's human companion who is staying in the penthouse suite of the hotel, who is not yet revealed. And a convention of war veterans is also staying at the hotel. And this gave me flashbacks to, there was one year at Convergence where we had to share the hotel with a group of Shriners, and it did not go well. Mixing those two groups, let me just say.
One year, one of the London Comic Cons, of which there are many, was at the Excel Centre, along with a whole group of Zumba, a whole group of Zumba people who did take to us, as well as a mother and child kind of thing for expectant mothers, and all of the grandmothers to be were just giving us the stinky eye. It's like people wandering around, dressed as Deadpool and Elektra and stuff like that. We're like, well, we've made our choices, you've made yours. So.
Wow. It's like oil and water.
Yes. Sometimes it's brilliant. But the Zumba people are lovely.
A lot of this, it feels like it's drawn from some of the convention, anecdotes and stuff, drawn from the author's
experience.
I also really enjoyed the bits about the terraforming of Mars and the details there, and how there are now 2 polar oceans that have melted. And I've always wanted to read the Red Mars, Green Mars, Blue Mars trilogy by Kim Stanley Robinson, which goes into a hard science, science fiction story around that.
Yeah.
And even after 500 years of terraforming, only about 1/10 of the terrain has been altered. And Benny is still at St. Oscar's on Della. The university still exists at this point. Position she's held now for 3 years. And this is Benny's first time to Mars since she was 24. And as you said, she turned 35 in this book, although she could be older depending on, how long she traveled with the Doctor.
Yeah.
And we learn that June 21st is her birthday. We also get a reference to Chelonians, which were first introduced in The Highest Science, and some references to just kind of the expansion of the solar system. So, like, Benny references the belt, which brought images of the science fiction series The Expanse to mind.
Yes.
And she mentions the Jovian archipelago, which I think is a good way to describe, Jupiter's moons.
There's also references to dragon space, so which is clearly the Draconians.
Yeah, dragons instead of draconians here. And it's interesting, too, that Mars has become a bit of a retirement community with lower gravity and less pollution. Yeah. So it's kind of an attractive place for retirees. And I was getting flashbacks to, there's a giant retirement community in Florida called The Villages.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the subject of a documentary called Some Kind of Heaven, which I highly recommend. It's just a fascinating look at that entire industry. I guess you could say.
Yeah, I definitely got a Florida vibe.
Yeah. And we get a brief appearance of a blue alien named Mr. Saldemir, who apparently was also in Father Time.
Okay.
But I don't recall him, and he goes on to appear in another 3 Eighth Doctor adventures after this.
Okay.
Just kind of a brief encounter with him as Benny's arriving and checking in at the hotel. And the opening feels very kind of slice of life, where more relaxed and lived in than, at least in my mind, than some of the other Bennys we've read.
Yeah, or slow.
Yeah. One line about Professor Scoblo, which she's described as looking like a Beatrix Potter character, but one who has grown up, had a couple of unsuccessful marriages, and then spent the 80s in rehab, which I think is a fantastic description.
Yes. Yeah.
And then on the convention at the hotel, there's a line, we need cheap, small-time academics like her to fill out the schedule at a convention like this. It helps offset the cost of the real talent. And I wonder if that's like a veiled, self-deprecating commentary about Doctor Who authors at conventions.
Yes. With Professor Scoblo, I was kind of imagining, is it Jennifer Coolidge?
Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously small and fairy, but that kind of thing. Have we spoken about the old veteran soldier Isaac Denikin?
No. So you have the convention of like war veterans also staying there, and Benny meets up and speaks with him, and he's probably in his, appears in his 70s or 80s, so he's probably like 120 or 130. And Benny speaks with him for a while before going to bed, and it turns out her hotel room is right next to his. And then, so Gerald Macno, he has a couple of friends named C's and So's who are very much like a Holmesian double act.
Yes.
Throughout this. And they see, they're coming upon the hotel in search of their next drunk or high experience. Yeah. And they see a Xanthe, which is kind of a vicious, like lizard-like species, one of those lizards scaling down the side of the hotel, and they're kind of shocked by this, but no one's listening to them because they think they're kind of hallucinating.
Yeah, you say Holmesian double act, and you're not wrong, though having evoked Jason Mewes, there is a kind of like a Jay and Silent Bob kind of vibe, isn't there?
Yeah.
I think to Seasons and So's.
We also get a reference to Tyler's Folly, which is, I guess that's what Benny shares with Isaac during their conversation about, and that is a planet from Alien Bodies and Down.
Yeah. So Benny, the next morning, is woken up by a policeman, and the policeman is investigating the death of Isaac Denikin, the soldier that she'd been speaking to the night before. When she realises that the policeman isn't really going to be looking into this death, she decides to investigate on her own. But before she can begin, she unexpectedly runs into her ex-husband, Jason, who has written an alien adult entertainment novel, should we say?
Involving tentacles and other things.
Yes. It's described as an autobiography with the autobiographical bits taken out.
Which apparently is based on his experiences that he had in the novel Death and Diplomacy, which
Yes.
I have not read.
No, nor have I. But we are treated, if treated is a word, to a few extracts from this novel, which are interesting, aren't they?
They would have made for an interesting dramatic reading, but we went with the prologue instead.
Yes, slightly safer.
Just in case.
Yes, but yes, as you say, Matt, there is a lot of tentacles. Anyway, so following a typically tempestuous reunion and also a little bit of how's your father in Jason's penthouse suite, Benny asks him to investigate Isaac's death while she tries to write her lecture. Jason is still hoping that they're eventually going to get back together and agrees to do so, though his idea of investigating is to hire seasoned SOAS, or seasoned toes, to help. And so the three of them get drunk and decide to break into the police station where the evidence will already have been collected, so it's all nice and convenient. Somewhat unsurprisingly, they're arrested for this. However, they do discover that Isaac's heart was torn out of his body, which leads seasoned SOAS to conclude that the Xanthi was responsible. So the weird insect thing that they saw.
When Jason and seasoned SOAS kind of get drunk, I think they go to Club Obi-Wan.
Yes, they
which
do.
is a double reference, not only to Obi-Wan Kenobi, but it was the club in Temple of Doom.
Ah, okay, yes. Yeah.
And there's also a South Park reference where seasoned SOAS steal a skimmer, which is like a kind of a hover car. And this is like right, a year after that show had debuted, where someone yells out a window, "You killed my skimmer, you bastards."
Yes. Yeah. There is a lot of swearing in this book, isn't there?
Oh, yeah.
It's like one of the difficulties of finding an extract was it's like, yeah, have to bleep that. Yeah, we can't say that. Oh.
Yeah, we have like 4 or 5 chapters of just kind of world building and slice of life stuff, which I was very much enjoying. Then the plot has to show up where you have a murder happen and the subsequent investigation. So then Benny bails the 3 of them out from jail, but she's utterly furious with Jason. And this is kind of where I wish I had more of a handle on Benny and Jason's relationship. So there's a couple of different moments in this book where they get into quite heated arguments. I was able to follow along and stuff, but I feel like had I had more context around their relationship, like, for example, I haven't read Happy Endings or even the novel where Jason is introduced. And I feel like this would have been more emotionally satisfying for me had I read more of their backstory and not dipped in and out of the novels so much.
I've read Happy Endings, and I don't think you really get much more. I do think some of the books are a bit inconsistent in how they portray Benny and Jason, their relationship. I think it just depends upon what the novel of the month is requiring. So he certainly does prop up a lot from memory.
So then Jason decides to give Benny his credit card, or his I don't know what you call it, like a...
Yeah, it's like a credit card type thing, isn't it? It's
or like his credits that he has on it. The reason he's staying in the penthouse suite is because his book is selling extremely well, and she's kind of scans his card and finds that he's already spent his entire advance, and he's once again very much broke. And then seasoned SOAS follow another lead out to an old folks' home where they buy prescription drugs off some of the pensioners there, and find a room of a recent arrival named Cromwell. And there they find an empty Xanthi, kind of that lizard disguise. So it's like a lizard suit exoskeleton. And they flee the room moments before the suit self-destructs, which felt a little Scooby-Doo to me. Like, we discovered the outfit that the villain's wearing.
Yes.
And then Benny, meanwhile, found evidence that Isaac, so the guy who was murdered, was present at Telesar's mission control during the war. But he can't have been Telesar, who turns out was a woman. And that was kind of a good misdirect for me, because when that revelation happened in the book, I was surprised by that. I had fallen into the same trap of assuming that Telesar was a man by the trappings of the lead general in the war and etc.
Yeah.
And Benny's kind of at a museum while she's researching this. And there's I can't tell if this was a dig at like Doctor Who or BBC special effects, but this command center base is like in an underground lake, and there was like a diorama depicting it, and looked like a bit of sawed-off drain pipe. And that seemed to me like a little commentary on like classic era BBC special effects, because Benny was wondering like, well, does it look like that in real life or not? And she tries to make her way back to the conference only to suffer a computer crash.
Yes.
And Gerald Macno offers to help and finds that her computer's been infected by the remains of a computer virus set to destroy all the information in the terminal in Isaac's neighboring room. And I don't think that's how computer viruses spread necessarily, but...
No. I also wondered whether the computer crash was a slight reference to the health of Ben Aronovich's computer, which allegedly crashed and wiped out his text of So Vile a Sin.
And then when Seas and Sows arrive with their story about like the lizard suit they found that self-destructed, they all compare notes and determine that Cromwell must have been a hired assassin sent to kill Isaac, but now he's apparently left the planet for good, and they don't have any further leads. Around this time, too, Benny attends the keynote speech, which is delivered by the Yorks, that couple from earlier. And when she's attending the opening ceremonies, the line in the book says, Benny negotiated her way past a curly-haired man, his blonde companion, and their robot dog.
Yes.
Which, of course, in my mind, has to be the Fourth Doctor, Second Romana, and K9.
Yes. There's also, as well, at one stage in the book, there's an appearance of another Doctor. The Doctor that Lance Parkin likes to reference, played by Ian Richardson.
Ah, yeah, the 42nd Doctor.
Yes.
And his wife, Iffy, from, I guess it was the deleted epilogue from The Dying Days. But, to your point, they make other appearances, too.
Yeah, and because also in every Lance Parkin book, apparently, there is an appearance of a character played by Ian Richardson. So,
and there it is for this one.
Yes, if the name doesn't ring a bell, if you've ever seen the original House of Cards from the BBC, he's Francis Urquhart. So, there you go. The main character. Right, okay, so Benny is somewhat depressed and she's only got the sketchiest of notes, and so she's forced to begin her lecture. But whilst free associating in a desperate attempt to try to kind of come up with a theme like that she's riffing, she suddenly realises that Elizabeth Trinity, the older professor, is really Telesar, and she inadvertently blurts this out in the middle of her speech, provoking a riot, because obviously Telesar is hated by the surviving Martian population. And so she, Sees and Sows, flee with Trinity before a lynch mob can kind of tear her apart. And Trinity admits that she is Telesar, and she's horrified to learn that Isaac, her lover, is dead. Yeah, quite a few surprises here.
that revelation's like, I did not see that coming. And I thought the scene where Benny's delivering her speech and she's like suddenly starts connecting the dots, and it reminds me of that gif of like you see the math equations appear around your head.
Yes.
And then she kind of blurts it out.
Yes. Although I have to say, for some of this to work, people need to have forgotten what gender Telesar was. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Benny's assuming that Telesar is a he.
Yes, she doesn't find out till a little bit later. And somehow she misses that fact while touring the museum. And I think there was a portrait of Telesar that was destroyed by one of the veterans, which is why she didn't see what Telesar looked like.
Yeah. And she's written a book about the history of Mars.
The ancient history of Mars.
The ancient history of Mars, I know. But
you'd think she would have.
Yeah.
But
it's
a point for convenience, I'd say.
Yes, I would say. But anyway. Also, as well, before we resume, there are times when we're reading these books and remember, this is written in the 90s or something like that. And here, there is a lot of kind of casual sexism, I would say.
Yeah.
And which, I'm sure it's all very unconscious, but it's highlighted by the fact that, the big reveal of a major character is, oh, the general's a woman. Because, like, if you listen to the prologue, there's lots of references to man.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, we would do this differently now.
With that said, I would say, too, though, that I was surprised at how queer this book is for 1998, where you have General Keel, who's like another character we haven't really talked about. He's gay. The student who's interested in Benny's bisexual, which I think is a lot more common in that era, as we've heard, from like Captain Jack and Benny herself.
Yeah.
But, at the time for 1998, that in and of itself was quite boundary pushing. So it's interesting in that it's kind of progressive in some senses, but it also, like you were saying, the twist and some of the dialogue in particular feels very late 90s in terms of gender roles and stereotypes and things like that, too.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Rant aside. There wasn't really a rant, but just observations. Right. So Trinity, she's horrified to learn that Isaac, who was her lover, is dead. And we realise that ever since the 20th century, it's been decided that in order to ensure that the person with the authority to launch nuclear missiles, and so therefore killing millions of people and destroying the planet Earth, and to make sure that person wasn't operating on a detached level from reality, the launch codes had to be implanted inside the heart of a loved one. So in order to access the codes, the person with the authority vested in them would have to kill the person they loved.
Which, I had heard of that kind of philosophical argument before, right, when it comes to like nuclear codes, and I'm not sure who originally put that out there, but I think that goes back to Cold War era, and it certainly isn't the first time I've heard about it, but the way that it was cleverly used, where Isaac's heart was removed.
Yeah.
That it just, it all kind of came together in an interesting way where it was like, oh, an aha moment as I was reading it.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that system. However, I must say it would make me feel a bit happier and a bit more relaxed at the moment if I knew that various people that had their fingers on nuclear buttons had extra personal stake in the matter.
And the book says it goes back to the Carter administration, so...
Yeah, so according to the book, Trump and Putin, presumably.
The question is, which loved one?
Yes, yeah. Well, and also, of course, British prime ministers have had it as well. So, so again, I can think of a recent former prime minister. Right, well, that had to be inserted in the hearts of lots of people. So anyway, right. So therefore, the heart has the codes. It's the heart of a loved one. Even faced with the arrival of the Daleks, Telesar couldn't bring herself to cut out Isaac's living heart whilst he stood by and let her do it. So, she could have drugged him as well. There are ways and means. However, someone has now done just that. And so because they have the heart, they've got the launch code for the missiles, which still remain in the old mission control base.
And then Trinity goes with Benny, sees and sows. They steal another skimmer, and then they go to a dive shop where they rent a boat out and use the last of Jason's credits to buy some diving suits, and then they go diving on this lake on Mars and swim down to the underwater base.
It's very James Bond, isn't it?
Yeah, very Lance Parkin.
Yes,
yes. This set piece. And there they find that the missiles and warheads are all still present, but that there's a military AI that controls them, which has the acronym CATCH. I don't know if we ever know what it stands for, or if it's ever spelled out.
Yeah. No, I don't think we do.
CATCH has been downloaded from the system computers, and over the past 50 years, artificial intelligences have been installed with system limiters to prevent them from getting too complex for the human race's own good. And in practical terms, that means that CATCH, this 50-plus-year-old program, is more advanced than the systems that are currently in use on the planet. And the only people with the resources to steal CATCH and run him are the Yorks. And in fact, York Corps was facing a hostile takeover from the Bantu Cooperative, which has better computers and AI software than the Yorks. fearing that their loyal employees would suffer under the faceless corporate hands of Bantu. So they've stolen Ketch in order to stop this from happening. And we also get a reference at one point to the Bain Corporation, which made me wonder if RTD had read this, before writing the Sarah Jane Adventures pilot.
Yeah, quite possibly. So 50 years of isolation and downtime have taken their toll on Ketch and Ketch's sort of grasp of sanity. So Ketch interprets the warning of a hostile takeover to mean that Mars is once again facing invasion. So, Ketch is in a bit of a bad state, really, to make that kind of leap of logic. So Ketch accesses MarsNet, which is the internet for Mars, and finds no sign of such an invasion. So he reckons that the invaders must be particularly devious and clever. Ketch takes over the various terraform units and causes fluctuations in the gravity net and the weather control in order to confuse the enemy that doesn't exist. So the Yorks, realising that things have gone too far, flee for their private shuttle on a ship in the Borealis Sea. And Trinity, Benny, Sees and Sows arrive too late to stop them. They are, though, reunited with Jason, and they're forced to rent a fishing boat to get out to the York's automated liner. And this, though, is not an easy task, because the Borealis Sea has been stocked with mutant sea leviathans for the wealthy to hunt. And so they're being driven to the surface of these leviathans by the kind of various tectonic and weather disturbances. There is a bit of a climate change metaphor, isn't there, to this? I was thinking particularly when we were listening back to the prologue, because with the prologue there's lots of references to kind of like short-term politics. There it's, that people aren't really taking seriously what to do about Mars, etc. But it's not a huge leap to say that there's an environmental message.
Yeah, I would agree that the environmental message is there for sure. And it's subtle, but it's there. Although that kind of gets into the quandary of the problem of if you have the technology to be able to terraform Mars into something livable, then that technology could also be used on Earth to clean up any of its own problems.
Yes.
So you kind of run into that dilemma there. But so to avoid the liner's sea defenses, Gerald Mockno, the student, he rigs up a catapult which flings Jason and Benny up onto the York's liner. But Jason ends up breaking his forearm, and Benny must continue on alone, and then the catapult breaks, so the Sees and Sows, aren't able to follow them up afterwards. And Benny confronts the Yorks outside of their mini shuttlecraft, which is also on the boat, only to find out that they took these actions out of genuine concern for their employees and the health and viability of their company.
Yes.
So they weren't planning on...
so they're not Bond villains.
Yeah, not at this point, but now that they agree that things have gone too far, they decide to flee Mars because Ketch, the artificial intelligence, is wanting to use the missiles to destroy the populations to restore balance to Mars, I guess. So Benny has got the kind of this Palm Pilot type thing that Ketch is running on, and she decides to step on it and crush it, kind of at the AI's insistence.
Yes.
The AI led her to that conclusion, but couldn't self-terminate sort of deal.
Yeah.
And that ending raised an interesting question about the value placed on an AI versus a human being, because Benny remarks she had no qualms about stomping on Ketch, but raises the question, had that been another human being she would have had to have killed? Could she have made that choice, kind of how Telusar wasn't able to make that choice when the Daleks were invading? So I thought that was really thought-provoking. So Benny destroys the AI, which ends the missile countdown, and a rescue team arrives, led by the Martian hero General Keel, whom we mentioned earlier. There's also a scene early on where General Keel is described as reaching down inside a Dalek casing and squeezing the creature inside to death, so he's pretty hardcore. And Trinity places her fate in the General's hands, letting him decide whether she deserves to die for the crime of being unable to kill Isaac. And so I don't know that we get resolution to that, whether the General kills her or not. I don't think he does, because I think we would have heard about it in the epilogue.
It's left open.
Very similar to the scene in Deep Breath where the two generals are confronting each other out in a helicopter, and one of them might push the other one out.
Yeah. So Benny and Jason, they've not been permanently reconciled. However, they think there's a possibility for the future. The Yorks, meanwhile, they drive their company, York Corp, into bankruptcy in such a manner that all of their employees benefit from its collapse, and only banks and creditors with a history of unethical and ruthless investments suffer. That sounds like a neat trick, doesn't it?
Good exit strategy.
Yes, yeah.
And they only had to kill Isaac.
Yes, yeah, but yeah, really? Okay. And before departing Mars, Benny gives the remains of Jason's credit chits, so however much cash he has on there, which is not much, to Seas and Sows as thanks for their help. And soon afterwards, the first payments on Jason's novel comes in.
Like the royalties, yeah.
Yeah, the royalties, isn't it? Yeah. And so the chit is suddenly worth millions of dollars. But Seas and Sows decide not to tell Benny or Jason because, after all, they just waste it. So, yeah.
And that is Beige Planet Mars.
Indeed. What do you make of this?
I, if you couldn't tell, really enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
It's odd because I was reading a little bit more about the novel afterwards, and it was apparently written over the course of 6 weeks because editor of The Range at the time, Rebecca Levine, took Lance Parkin out to lunch and told him that Virgin needed a Benny book in 6 weeks or less.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. I thought it had a lot to say about AI versus human intelligence. It had environmental themes. The world building felt very strong. I could picture everything that was happening on Mars.
Yeah.
It got into terraforming, which is like a interest of mine. It had an underwater base, which I love, with robot barracudas. That was just felt very inventive and felt very much like it, even though they didn't have the Doctor Who license, with all the references to Daleks and Ice Warriors, not in name but in spirit. I mean, it felt very much set in the Doctor Who universe to me.
Yes.
So in that sense, yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
I enjoyed it once it got going. I was enjoying the world building, but I was also thinking it would be nice if the story could start at some point. So I did enjoy the twists, and I knew that the book had been written quickly. I mean, I think there's references to it, like, for example, the fact that Benny has to begin her lecture with barely any notes.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole subplot seemed like a commentary on writing the book itself,
Yes,
which
yeah.
kind of clever and meta.
Yeah.
That they incorporated that, and
Yeah.
I certainly have had those procrastination anxieties before
Yes.
myself, so I could relate.
Yeah. But it's fun. I don't think it's essential reading. It's a good rollicking adventure, I'd say. Apparently, they had attempted to make references to every piece of fiction they knew about that was set on Mars.
Like in the Doctor Who universe, or just Mars fiction? Oh, in general.
Yeah.
Huh.
They certainly did for every Doctor Who story that was set on Mars that was known about at the time. And like you, I've not read any Kim Stanley Robinson Mars books. The fact that it's called Beige Planet Mars, I think it's kind of like a bit of a nod. Yeah, it's fun. I seem to remember having more fun with it when I read it the first time about 20 odd years ago. And so it might have been that I was going into it going, oh, yeah, no, this was a hoot. So then I was like, oh, actually, I remember none of this. So, yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I actually liked the opening chapters before the plot really kicked in. I guess, having the most fun with.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably because I like that more slice of life, meandering. And I was reading those opening chapters on the way back from Gallifrey 1, and I'll always have a memory of glancing out my airplane window over the Nevada desert and thinking about how much it reminds me of the surface of Mars, and seeing Las Vegas on the horizon looking like some sort of spaceport.
Wow, yes, I can definitely see that, yeah.
So you go first. How would you score this one?
So I was having a debate with Lauren on this. She was trying to talk me into 1 mark. I will go higher, actually, than what she was suggesting. 7.
Okay.
She'd said, go for a 6, because you remember how frustrated you were with how slow it was. But I will go with a 7.
And similarly, I was actually going to go with a 9,
but
but some of what you said in terms of the casual sexism and stuff lowered the score a bit for me. As we were kind of talking, I was thinking back through it. So I'm going to go with an 8 on this one.
Okay.
The twists I felt were really well done. The murder mystery investigation I was on board for. The set pieces were fun.
Yes.
The philosophy of it and some of the questions it raised. I guess it just kind of exceeded my expectations.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Season sows were a hoot.
Yeah. I could picture them. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've met them. I think they were at my university.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, and we learned that Benny's sequel to Down Among the Dead Men is supposed to be called So Vast a Pile at this point, but I think that changes over time.
Yes, is that a pun on So Vile a Sin? Maybe.
I think it is.
Yes.
So Vast a Pile. Oh. Yeah, so that is the Benny book for kind of our sidestep into some of additional Doctor Who fiction.
Yeah.
And the Doctor Who themes and vibes were strong with this one.
Yes.
I felt.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to listener feedback?
Yeah, let's.
So it doesn't look like we have any emails this month. Oh. So listeners, please do send us a note at andwbcpodcast@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to read your feedback out on the show.
So on Facebook, we heard from Jay Barry, who remarked about the Torchwood books, that if you had all in any given set of the 3 Torchwood books, because they always came out in little, well, not really trilogies, but little sets of 3, you could line up the spines to show a lineup of the Torchwood team.
Oh yeah, the cast photo and after the books that were published after I think season 3, then the cast photo was just the 3 of them or 2 of them. Yeah. I think we got a note also on Facebook from Jason Tucker, right?
Oh, yes, we did. Yeah, so Jason was saying that he said some very kind things, that we're one of the best Doctor Who podcasts available, which, thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
And so covering books from every conceivable range, as well as news about every aspect of the show. One of the hosts, Matt, has been to every console room and always has good things to say, like his comments about the 10th anniversary convention this past January in the most recent episode. No word about the quality of my input, but your input is strong. So Jason says, if you like Doctor Who, and especially like the books, then you should be listening to this podcast. And Jeremy Bennett chimes in to say, always a good listen. Thank you. That's really kind and sweet.
Yeah, thanks, Jason and Jeremy. Yeah. We also on Twitter heard from longtime listener Keith Say, 50DW50 on Twitter, who says he enjoyed the Twilight Streets podcast. Thank you. He says, I'm a bit behind, sorry. And he says, I've never read all the Torchwood books. There was just so much Doctor Who related stuff being released at the time. Yeah, that was the first Torchwood book I had read as well. Rather enjoyed it, but I enjoyed Beige Planet Mars more.
Yeah, I think vice versa for me, but yeah. Cool. But that's a good thing, because like we sometimes have differences in taste, which is good. It would be boring otherwise.
Yeah.
So I think this is the point of proceedings where you tell me and the listeners what it is that we're going to be reading next month.
Yes, so I think we're going to do one more round of sidesteps, and one range that we haven't read any from yet, although Chris, you mentioned this character earlier in the podcast. I had to bite my tongue a bit.
Okay.
Iris Wildtime.
Right.
And I was on the fence about which Iris book to pick, because she appears both in, the regular Doctor Who range, but then she also has her own range as Big Finish for a time published both audio and the Big Finish Iris novel is a little bit harder to come by these days. I think it's out of print.
Yes.
But then Obverse Books picked up the license, and I was very tempted to pick. There's a Iris Wildtime anthology that all takes place on Mars.
Okay.
Featuring a sequel to this story called Lilac Mars.
Oh.
Which is the story from Iris's point of view.
Yeah.
But we'll have to read that on your own, unfortunately, because I instead opted to pick the first collection released by Obverse instead, because I think it might be a little bit more widely available.
Yeah.
And it's called Iris Wildtime and the Celestial Omnibus. It's edited by Paul Mars and Stuart Douglas.
Yeah.
It features a fantastic cover by June Hudson.
Oh, I just looked at it now. It is, yes.
And an introduction by Katie Manning.
Yeah.
And it was first published in 2009 in hardcover.
Yeah.
But it is also available on Obverse's website as an ebook for purchase.
Yeah.
And it's a short story collection, which features some stories by folks such as Megs Holiday, Steve Lyons, Mark Wright and Kevin Scott, Steve Cole, and others. So, yeah, for April, we shall be reading Iris Wildtime.
Oh, that's really, really cool. At the convention in Derby, they had various different kind of like books on sale of authors that were speaking there, including A Clockwork Iris, because two of the authors from that were, and I can't remember who they were talking at the thing.
Oh, cool, like a panel.
I think it was Mark Latham, yeah. So,
nice.
Yeah. So I was tempted to get that, and then I kind of thought, I wonder whether Iris might pop up. So,
and here she is, dearie.
Yes, indeed. Cool. Oh, I'm looking forward to that. I don't think I've read Iris written by anybody else other than Paul Mars. So yeah.
And Paul does contribute a story to this collection too.
Yes.
Yeah. For April.
Cool.
Iris Wildtime and the Celestial Omnibus, and a short story anthology.
Yeah, when I was talking about the people at the Derby Hooverville novel experiencing, did I mention Paul Mars was there?
No.
No. So I'm going to go along and sort of track him down and say hi.
Well, he has listened to our show.
He has. Yeah, I am looking forward to it.
Excellent.
And it is the same day as the Eurovision final. So a little bit of me was kind of thinking, it'd be nice to have been possibly in Liverpool for that. And then, well, yes, the accommodation's super expensive. I'm sure the tickets to be super expensive. And I imagine that the Venn diagram of people at a Doctor Who convention and people that might be wanting to watch Eurovision
is quite an overlap. And
yeah, there's quite an overlap there.
Maybe the convention will pause and everyone will go down to the hotel bar.
Oh, I think that the convention will stop for us, I suspect. Yes. There isn't a hotel bar there.
Oh.
There are hotels that are quite close by. 2 Premier Inns.
Don't
know quite what the American equivalent is. Possibly, maybe slightly above a Motel 6. But yes, cheap and cheerful. Sometimes just cheap. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, until next month, this has been Matt in Minnesota.
Chris, South London. Happy reading. Stay safe. And let other people buy the tomatoes.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. Special thanks to George C. Music for use of their song Doctor Who Theme Swing Jazz Version. You can follow us on Twitter at ANDWBC Podcast and like us on Facebook. Help other listeners to find us by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. You can contact the show by emailing your thoughts to andwbcpodcast@gmail.com. And until next month, happy reading.
But Jason breaks his leg in the process, and then the catapult breaks after its first use, so the rest of them can't follow up. Or actually, no, Jason breaks his ulna, so Jason breaks his forearm.
Yeah.
Not his leg.
Do you want to reread that?
Oh, yeah, sure. I was debating up until the last second what I wanted to do for next month. So I have made my decision.
You've made your decision. Okay,
Yes.
well, you still have like an hour or so to
to change my mind.
to change your mind.
No, I think I'm good.
You think you're good? Okay. Cool.
So yeah, that is the book for...
Cool.
Yeah, I was very tempted to pick the Mars one, but
Yeah.
I was like, we've spent enough time on Mars.
Yeah, fair enough.
And watch out for the number 22 to Putney Common.
Yes, we drove through Putney last night. Yeah, right, bye-bye.
Cool.